Welcome to another episode of the CPG Guys podcast. Our hosts, Sri Rajgopalan, Peter V.S. Bond, and Brian Gildenberg explore how brands and retailers engage consumers in an increasingly digitally driven world. And now, here are the CPG Guys.
Hello and welcome to the CPG Guys podcast. I'm of course Sri, a co-founder and co-host of the CPG Guys and co-founder and partner of Think Blue. Your key to unlocking your profitability potential is builders, connectors, and amplifiers. We shape the future of commerce to drive your growth. Please do listen to my older daughter Ria Raj's music, and my younger daughter Lara Raj is a member of the Geffen Records Universal Music Group Cat's Eye. At the time of this recording, we are a week away from the debut album launch. While my wife Kavita Raj has her own podcast, Lights, Camera, Convo on iHeartRadio and all streaming platforms. Before we get to our guests, we want to ask you to help spread the word about this community we've created in the CPG Guys. Beyond sharing our podcast with your friends, if you're using Apple Podcasts or Spotify as your preferred listening platform, please leave us a rating as it helps feed the algorithm that makes us more findable by CPG retail people like you looking for education and entertainment. We're happy that the CPG Guys is part of an impressive collective of highly rated podcasts, including CPG Scoop with Risa and Jennifer, and the FMCG Guys with Daniel, Efrain, and Christine. Links to our podcast, our sister cast, and the landing page of Next Up, who we support, and social media profiles of both my performing artist daughters, Ria and Lara, may be found in the digital liner notes of this podcast. So, on to our special conversation today. Retail media is primarily, if not exclusively, positioned against the e-commerce section of omnichannel, but what about brick and mortar retailers? How are they able to leverage retail media to engage in-store shoppers, drive incremental conversation while monetizing their traffic? We have two such guests today to have this discussion on the CPG Guys' favorite topic, how to leverage retail media. And given where the industry is today, in terms of store traffic, in terms of household loss for the largest brands, I can't think of a better conversation we should be having together. So we're partnering on this episode with none other than Bridg. Joining us for today's conversation in his second appearance on the CPG Guys is the CRO at Bridg, Neil Murphy. And he's brought along with him a representative from a key retail business partner for Bridg. Joel Robinson is the Senior Director for Growth and Marketing and Retail Media at Giant Eagle, a Pennsylvania-based super regional grocery and convenience retailer with 496 stores spread across 5 states, and one that I have actually worked very closely with in my previous role as Chief Customer Officer for the General Mills Company. Joell and Neil, hello and welcome to the CPG Guys podcast. We're happy to have you both.
Hi, Sri. Thanks for having us.
Excited to be here.
Welcome to both of you, of course, and we appreciate you making time to speak with us about how retailers can leverage expanded and enriched first-party data insights to meaningfully understand and engage shoppers at retail while delivering on monetization and increased revenue opportunities. Before we get started with the questions we have prepared, I'm going to ask both of you if you can, first you, Joel, give us an overview of Giant Eagle, and then Neil, I'll ask the same of you for Bridg. So Joel, how about you go first?
We're a Pittsburgh-based regional grocer, and we also operate in the convenience space as well. We have about 480 stores throughout Pennsylvania, North Central Ohio, Northern West Virginia, Maryland, and Indiana.
Awesome. Neil?
So I am the Chief Revenue Officer for Bridg, which is a division of Cardlytics. I've been here for about roughly 7 months now, and my second appearance on the CPG Guys, so excited to be back. Prior to my time here at Bridg, I spent about 6 years at Criteo working and helping them stand up their retail media business. And then prior to that, I worked at Walmart.com for 16 years, where I started up what is now Walmart Connect. So my life has been, retail media is life for me. So happy to be here.
Neil, I did not know that you're one of the founding kind of ecosystem members of Walmart Connect. I mean, that means this is going to make for a great conversation even outside of this show at some point, because I think Peter probably told you that we're headed to Cannes Lions. We actually have a bunch of recordings with Walmart Connect over there. But thank you to both of you for that overview. In the digital liner notes of this episode, we'll include links to your LinkedIn profiles, the Giant Eagle and Bridg LinkedIn pages, along with the links to, of course, your company websites for our listeners to access on the go while we go on with our conversation. So it's Q&A time. You guys ready for this? I hope you are ready for this. So Joel, we're going to start with you first. As you seek to build out a meaningful retail media program, having a complete understanding of shoppers connected to transactions, the lower funnel activation is fundamentally important. Would you elaborate how you've gone about this and some of the challenges you face in this area, especially connecting it back to shopper transactions?
I think it's not only looking at our guests in a transactional sense, it's also looking at relevancy. So connecting to them the right way through advertising. It's important for a retail media network, but also when we run media for Giant Eagle and GetGo. So my team not only handles our retail media side, but we also handle all of the media as a whole. So it's important we know who we're talking to. We have the advantage at Giant Eagle. We know a lot of the people we're talking to because we have a really, really strong loyalty program. We have about a 92% scan rate. So it's really the backbone of our retail media network. I know maybe not all retailers have that visibility, but I do think it's really important to know who your shoppers are. And then it also comes back to that point of measurement. So with having a lot of known shoppers, it makes it easier for us to see what that journey is. And then that kind of leads into personalization. Personalization is pretty challenging if you don't know who your guests are. So I think really there is a lot of importance in knowing who you're connecting with.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, as a customer-centric grocer, you really need to know who your customer is and what they're really interested in. And I think that's what Giant Eagle does really, really well. And that's where Bridg and Ripple will support.
To me, Joell and Neil, in these volume challenge times where generally consumption in center store has been challenged the last couple of years due to, I would say, since March of last year, due to inflation, it's become all the more important to connect with that shopper, get the right content out there, and then follow the shopper on that journey. And one of the best effective mechanisms to do that is retail media, to follow them on the journey and give them an opportunity to actually convert. So I'm going to jump to the area of resolving identities because, Neil, that's your warehouse. But as you thought about seeking to resolve the identities of anonymous transactions, connecting them to a Giant Eagle loyalty program member in order to further enrich Leap Media Group, what were important elements of your decision to partner with an external service provider?
I think our team's really passionate about what we do. We kind of built this thing internally from the ground up. So when we're looking at partnering, it's really important that we pick the right partner. We have people sitting in sales, account management, and media activation who have really forged relationships with our partners. So we want to make sure on our vendor side that we're partnering with people who share that. And we knew for a fact we didn't want to dismantle any of that. So our partnership approach is we want to make sure that whoever we're partnering with is doing something that we can't do internally. And this really, checked the boxes there. And I think also when looking at it, like, will they work alongside our strategy or against it? And I think as we were working with Bridg and Ripple, it really checked a lot of those boxes. And that's why we ended up partnering. And I really think it's been complementary versus working against us or taking away from anything that we're currently doing.
Yeah, I think Bridg, we pride ourselves on being an and solution versus an or solution, meaning we don't need to be an exclusive provider. We're happy to partner with the retailer direct. We're happy to partner with that retailer's partners, right? So we're here to support the retailer in any way that they need us to support.
So, Neil, for the audience listening into this and curious to kind of learn more about Bridg and identity resolution, especially on the retail side, given first-party transactional nature of the data, if they want to learn about how is it to work with you, do you traditionally anchor first with the retail media team? Do you go to the loyalty team, which often is not the same at most retailers? Is IT in the mix? Like, how does this actually work itself out, Neil?
Yeah, it's interesting you call it out. I believe every retailer we've worked with, it's been a different group that has that we've worked with. Everything from loyalty to marketing. In some cases, it's the merchandising group. In some cases, it's the IT group. But generally speaking, it's a collaborative effort across all of those, where the identity resolution is touching all of those different areas. And that's when we talk about identity resolution here at Bridg, right? That's the underlying foundation for Ripple, which is our retail media product that we're partnering with Joell and the Giant Eagle team on today.
We're going to come back and talk a little bit more about Ripple in just a bit, but Joel, I'll go back to you for what will be the natural flow from here for me, which is we just talked about you made a decision to bring an external third party. You picked Bridg, you picked the Ripple product. After you made that decision, what was the integration process like? I mean, how was it to work with Bridg? How much work was it from your side to activate the partnership? And then this is an investment by both of you, but Joel, from your side of the fence, which is actually writing the investment for dollars here, how do you measure the success and evaluate what happened here in your partnership? Are they KPIs specifically for this?
Back to the integration. I mean, I can't say that the integration, I think my data engineering team would kill me if I said integration was simple. You know, it's always complex when we're talking about transactional data. But I do think the Bridg team really made it as simple as it could be. So, you know, it's a complex thing. So it wasn't easy, but they worked with us so closely that it made something complex feel turnkey. And throughout the process, they were right there offering to help. I mean, we even talked through at one point, we were like, should we get together in person and just do a war room type situation? So they made it really easy. And then internally, it was, for us, it was really a venture that we were going down. So there really wasn't too much need to like do any convincing or anything like that. I think when we talk about KPIs, we'll go back to like the revenue and what we see come out of this. I think, you know, going through this at the end of it, seeing how much advertiser interest there is, which I think there really is out there. I think that will be kind of the determining factor in the KPIs.
And Neil, before I turn it over to you and ask you your opinion on this very partnership, Joel, I want to come back to revenue, right? So the way I would interpret that is it's actually the transactional nature of the business, right? That's what's the incremental baskets through identity resolution of shoppers and creating new, bringing them onto the loyalty platform that you weren't able to. You're literally solving that problem.
Yeah, I think it's that. I think it's looking at how are we tapping into some, like through the Ripple side, how are we tapping in through some additional revenue streams that maybe from a regional retailer we wouldn't be considered for because of scale.
If you think about what Ripple does, Sri, in the case of Giant Eagle or, you know, some of our other partners, whether it be Schnucks or Wegmans or NRS or other regionals that we work with, right? The scale isn't there to warrant the big national media dollar investments from a brand that are typically going to the Walmarts and Krogers of the world, right? So what Ripple is doing is essentially aggregating all of the regional grocers together to essentially create one Uber grocer, right? Someone that is large enough in scale to warrant those investments, those national media budget investments. And that was the strategy of Ripple, and, you know, thanks to Joell and the team and for their foresight to say, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and we're gonna get on board with some of, and combine with some of the other regionals to build this out.
Yeah, for me, Neil, the fact that you guys have created such a network like Ripple Data and Media Network for the longest time in the industry as an advocate of retail media, and to the day, I would always say there are certain RMNs which have significant scale just based on the strength of the number of stores that they support. And therefore, the audience, in the discussion we're having today, the word audience would be appropriate. Therefore, the audience they bring to their website. For the super regionals, I've always been an advocate if somebody needed to form that media network. And so scale is the exact word both Joel and Neil used. I would use the exact same word. So let me ask Joel that question. So obviously, the whole purpose of a retail media network is full funnel, but at the same time, it's also for you, Joel, to attract brands to invest in your retail media, right? Which is Leap at the end of the day. Scale obviously was a consideration, as you both have declared. How has Giant Eagle's recent announcement that you've entered the Ripple Data and Media Network enabled you to address the scale challenge that many regional and super regional retailers have faced? Exactly what Neil was kind of going towards. And then are brands responding? Because if brands are not responding, that's a huge mistake on part of brands. So I'm curious how that is.
We've had a lot of success in attracting brands to work with us because of our relationships and how closely our retail media team is really tied with merchandising. Some CPGs and brands, they want it to be easier to engage with us. And I think that that's one of the things that we want to make it easy for them to engage with us for their offsite ads. So, I mean, I personally started my career in media buying space, so I know how fragmented it was, 10, 15 years ago. And now looking at it, as more and more retail media networks pop up, like they're going to take the path of least resistance. And I think as regionals, we have a job to figure out how to work with these brands and how to get these brands exposure within our stores and exposure within retail media networks, if that is the way they prefer to work with us. I also think, to your point, we still have our media network, and this is a complement, and those who want a true omni-channel campaign would still want to work with us. And they still want to engage directly through us because they have access to different channels directly through us. But we do want to give them the choice that they've been asking for.
And to Joel's point, right, is it's really difficult to be a media planner, right? You're overworked, you're underpaid in a lot of cases, and right, you have only a finite amount of time in the day to do your job. And I think the latest count was over 200 different retail media networks out there to choose from, right? So how do we make it as easy as possible for that media planner to execute and do their jobs? And with Ripple Audiences, we're now available in all the marketplaces. So Trade Desk, LiveRamp, Google, Yahoo, virtually any of the audience marketplaces, again, with the idea that let's make this as easy as possible for our agencies and media planning partners to access, right, Giant Eagle audiences via these different audience marketplaces.
So Joel, that very enhancement we speak of here by Bridg enables behavioral data for Giant Eagle, for especially those that are unidentified ones that they're resolving. So how are brands able to come to you to leverage this Bridg enhanced purchase behavior data to drive successful full funnel advertising programs?
Yeah, so that's a great question. The partnership will allow them to reach their customers through Ripple with off-platform tactics like display. There might be times when they want to run their offsite through Ripple, but are hoping to complement that with some elite media exclusive inventory, like our on-site display, influencer search, and they could do that by engaging with both. My hope is that we're able to work, our sales team is able to work with Bridg to say these are people who would benefit from using Ripple, and then we kind of have this same cohesive back and forth that the Ripple team is coming to us saying, hey, they want to go beyond just this offsite. So I'm really hoping that the whole relationship becomes a partnership in that way too, especially because everybody wants to be doing omni-channel. So they want to be reaching other channels as well.
From a Ripple perspective, the audiences can be transferred to the DSP of choice of the brand or agency. So we can virtually run those audiences across any digital channel, whether it's offsite display, video, CTV, you name it. So yeah, the audiences will be available for any form of digital advertising.
Joell Neil, one of the questions that I did want to ask you that's come into top of mind for me, 30 years in CPG, some of the best shoppers, aka customers for a brand, were always at super regionals because they were loyal to that chain and they were loyal to brands within that chain. And, brands created an aura of almost dependency on them. Now that you're solving with Bridg identity resolution of several of those customers, this has got to be payday for brands. Do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I do think we have unique, loyal customers coming into Giant Eagle and Market District. And I think they are different than those shoppers who are going to some of the bigger box retailers.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Shri. I would argue to the brands that your best customers are likely shopping at a regional grocer right now, yet your marketing investment you're over investing in the big guys and you're under investing in the regional grocers where some of your best customers are. So I would throw that as a challenge to the brands that are listening to this.
And Neil, guess what? You're solving for that with scale through the Ripple network. So congratulations, man. Look forward to a lot more dialogue on this stuff as we go to the next question here.
Thanks, Sri.
You bet, Neil. Give our audience a rough idea of the scale that you guys have created with the Ripple Data and Media Network here, because Giant Eagle, of course, 300 plus stores, but how large is the scale?
Yeah, so with the partnership with Giant Eagle, Ripple is now up over 70 million customer profiles. And just to put that in perspective, we are now on par with the likes of a Kroger or an Albertsons in terms of total customer profiles. So when I spoke earlier about making an Uber grocer with all the regionals and C stores, that's exactly what we're doing. So
that many shoppers, Neil, to me indicates you have the vast majority of the super regionals either coming on the network, existing on the network, and 70 million is a lot. It's a lot of customers. So for a country which probably has about 130, 140 to begin with, that's 50% of the universe. Is that reasonable, Neil?
Yeah, it's a massive reach. It's nationwide, and we're covering now over 21,000 physical store locations as well. So it's a massive reach.
So 70 million customers, 21,000 stores. I mean, no easy feat. I mean, that couldn't have happened in a day, Neil. So can you give us some sort of understanding of how you went about that and actually got 21,000 stores and 70 million in the mix?
Yeah, well, it just happened overnight, Sri. It was really easy.
I'm going to mail you the magic press here button that can make things happen overnight.
No, I mean, I've worked for retailers before, obviously, and I realize things take a while, but the Ripple has been a work in progress for well over 2+ years. And it's really about building out the foundation of Ripple, which is the identity resolution that we provide. And then it's a long slog usually with retailers, right? Because we're talking about customer data, and that's not something that is easily given. It takes trust, and that's what we've built over the years. With Schnucks was our first partner that came on board, and then NRS, which it manages over 20,000 convenience stores and bodegas. And then you add in Wegmans and Giant Eagle, and there's several more that we will be announcing over the coming year, right? But it takes trust, and it takes a lot of work and effort to build that trust with that goes both ways, right? From the retailer to Bridg and Ripple, and from Ripple to Bridg and from Ripple to the retailers.
You bet, Neil. But I do want to say congratulations, but also a thank you on behalf of the industry. Right up top, I did say this was much needed. That's what allows many of the super regionals to truly compete with their retail media. I purposely use the word compete because they should be, because audience matters. Regional traffic matters as much to the region as national traffic does nationally. And you guys have actually created a product that'll help enable that, along with matching the unmatched transactions, which actually, if nothing, just grows the loyalty network. So, Joel, I got one for you here.
Yeah, Sri.
Go ahead, Neil.
I was just going to add on to that, Sri. The research that we've done is anywhere up to 30% of a CPG sales happens at a regional grocer or C store, right? And today historically that has been very hard to track the performance in those locations, or identify the audiences that are shopping in those locations. And that's the value that Ripple brings to the marketplace.
Yeah, also in a world, according to eMarketer, which is 90% plus influenced by digital, even at the store shelf. Like, I did a lot of store walks over the course of the last 3.5 years. I was with General Mills, and it didn't matter which part of the country, it didn't matter what chain I was at. I would notice that 70-80% of shoppers in store, like 7 out of 10 transactions when they're in front of the aisle. And I'm discounting the intermediaries that pick up in store for home delivery. Those that were actually shopping with baskets would actually whip out a phone. They were either price comparing, checking digital content, they were looking at display banners, whatever they, or maybe using a shopping list. In that sort of environment for super regionals, having this network brings on a different meaning. And that's why I strongly feel what y'all are doing is a service to the industry. But Joel, I got one more for you, which is you have this partnership now. It's early beginnings, early innings. Where do you hope to take this partnership with Bridg? And then you talked about scale already, 21,000 stores, 70 million, but shoppers, regional super regionals have much more than 21,000 stores. So what advice would you give your peer sets to make their networks more appealing and accessible to brands that actually want to tell the full funnel story?
I think it's important to test new things. Like, I think this idea of a regional retail media network has long been needed. And I think people are afraid of it because they're afraid of this kind of taking away from what they've built or what they're using partners to build today. So I would say, it's important to be open. And when I look at someone like Bridg and Ripple, when I look at what they've built, it's very, it's not just a concept. A lot of what I've seen is a concept. A lot of what I've heard in the industry is a concept. So I think we, took a chance and we're really, really happy with what we're doing. And I think others, I think just be open. I think when we talk about where we're hoping to take the partnership, I think any new channels, any new ways of reaching those customers will be an important build. I also think finding parity in how we're measuring Bridg and Ripple with how we're doing it in Lead Media Group, finding some standardization. It's been such a huge topic across the industry. We have a homegrown version of our closed loop measurement. And I think starting to marry some of that together to make it easy to show apples to apples in measurement, I think will be really important for the brand. So I think that's, the direction that we're headed in and the build out that we're looking for too.
Neil, anything on the partnership angle?
I would echo Joel's thoughts, right? We want more retailers to try this out with us, more regionals, more C stores to work with us on this, right? Because again, right, if you're that media planner, you're not going to go to, 72 different retail media networks and buy audiences across all of them, right? The future is not more retail media networks, it's fewer. And we do think consolidation is a big part of that. And what we're doing, I believe, with the regional grocers and consolidating them across into one regional retail media network is going to make the agencies and brands more efficient in how they go to market. Yeah, I would encourage, if you are a regional out there listening, like let's talk and let's test it, because I do think that there's great opportunity. The initial results and initial feedback from the brands has been very, very positive. We've run some campaigns, also had very, very positive results. So we would encourage you to reach out and let's chat about it some more.
So this CPG guy is going to throw a little bit of a rant to brands right now, right? So every FMI, this is what would happen. I'd sit through 35 meetings. We talk about retail media with every retailer, and then I would talk with CMO, other VPs of marketing, etc., across the industry, and the common complaint is, but they don't have the scale. I don't want to invest here. And then what would happen is we'd always default to the large fours you mentioned right up, Neil. You both walk in over here and you say, look, I'm giving you a network with 21K stores. Of course, Giant's role in that is a 300 plus, 70 million customers. That means one of the most important pieces with the super regionals have struggled with is inventory, the ability to buy inventory for upper funnel. Because when you work with purely a retail media network that's exclusive just to 300 odd stores, it becomes a lower funnel activation play only. What you've done is you've solved for the upper funnel portion, and you've given brands the opportunity to kind of decide how they want to target campaign and what the campaign can be, and then bring them all the way down that funnel, given the part of the country, wherever the shopper is, into a super regional such as Giant Eagle today in the conversation we had with Joel. So I think brands have as much as a responsibility, because we've been complaining for quite a bit that we've kind of predicted and we've complained that this will morph itself up into, for super regionals, as a RMN network. And Neil, here we go. That moment is here. So you're going to hear the CPG guys talk about Ripple Data and Media Network quite a bit, because I think it's a moment in history that's getting solved through the network. Congratulations to both of you on being bold enough to go into partnership and do this and take on identity resolution in the process. And I want to say thank you for both of you for joining me on the network. But let me remind our audience first that you can find all of our content on the URL cpgguys.com. If you think you or your company has some thought leadership to contribute to our community discussion, simply send us an email at contact@cpgguys.com. That's again, contact@cpgguys.com. And you could join us on the podcast just like Joel and Neil did today. Don't forget to drop us a rating at cpgguys.com on the navigation bar up top. This is necessary because you shape the show. You tell us, as you give us a rating and a review, who you want to bring on the show, what conversations you want, and you voted for retail media to be up top to the day. Thank you to the 32,000 plus followers we have on LinkedIn. We know this is a large number. We know without you, the show doesn't exist. So I can't say thank you enough times for the clicks, likes, comments, DMs, and simply following us as we travel the world. Joel, Neil, thank you for making time on a Friday afternoon to be here with the CPG guys.
Thanks, Sri. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
This was a fun conversation for me because I've thrown enough rants about it at FMI and other forums, and heartwarming to hear that a solution is here. So much more to come on this topic in the future. That's a wrap of this episode, and see you soon on another episode of, wait for it, the CPG guys.
The content in this podcast episode is provided for general informational purposes only. By listening to our episode, you understand that no information contained in this episode should be construed as advice from CPG Guys LLC or the individual author, hosts, or guests, nor is it intended to be a substitute for research on any subject matter. Reference to any specific product or entity does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by CPG Guys LLC. The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. The views expressed by CPG Guys LLC do not represent the views of their employers or the entity they represent. CPG Guys LLC expressly disclaims any and all liability or responsibility for any direct, indirect, incidental, special, consequential, or other damages arising out of any individual's use of, reference to, or inability to use this podcast or the information we present in this podcast.